In today's podcast, we're looking at the book of Habakkuk. When I was a kid, people in the church in where I lived in Georgia, I think it was Georgia, they call it Habakkuk, but I think it's Habakkuk, a small book that's in the collection of the minor prophets. And I want to share with you the book of Habakkuk in the middle for something weird, and then something I wrote from the beginning. And I want to share some scriptures with you from Habakkuk, and then I want to close out with another scripture towards the end of Habakkuk. Habakkuk isn't very large, but I want to start out talking from chapter 2, then chapter 1, and then back with chapter 3. I prefer not to read to you, but I have a passage here from page 284 and 285 of my book, Deep and Wide, that I'm just going to read to you because it's something that I wrote as a reflection, and I think it really fits the feeling and the tone of Habakkuk. Okay, to start with, there's something very weird. Okay, remember Habakkuk is also preaching to the people of Judah, and this I'm still assuming is in the time frame between the time when the kingdom of Israel was captured by Assyria and before or about the time Babylon then captured Assyria, which also involved them taking the kingdom of Israel. Eventually, Babylon would also capture and take the kingdom of Judah. This comes from Habakkuk chapter 2, verses 15 and the beginning of 16. And it's like, boy, this is kind of bizarre scripture to find in the Bible. You don't often have Sunday school lessons or sermons based on this. And, originally when I started writing this book, Deep and Wide, I was looking for those texts and those portions of the Bible that you don't normally hear in your typical Sunday school encounters. This is Habakkuk chapter 2, verses 15 and 16. All right, sit down for this one, folks. Woe to him who gives drink to his neighbors, pouring it from the wineskin till they are drunk, so that he can gaze on their naked bodies. You will be filled with shame instead of glory. Now it's your turn, drink and be exposed. So I guess at this time in the kingdom of Judah, this had to be more than one person, or they wouldn't write a whole prophecy about it. It must have been thing you would have parties, and I don't know, it was like the party of perverts. So you invite all your neighbors over, and you give them so much money that they get drunk, so that you can explore them naked. Can you imagine having a party and getting all your friends drunk because what you really wanted was just to see them naked? Well, I guess they didn't have TV or internet or movies or anything else, and I don't know. That's kind of bizarre and weird, I kind of like the pieces of the Bible we get to that is bizarre and weird, and this is one of them. But what Habakkuk is telling them said, well, you go ahead and get your fill of this because now it's your turn. You're going to be at someone else's house. They're going to get you drunk, and they're going to explore or violate your body. That's kind of weird. So I guess, how do we put that in today's terms, or how do we apply this today? Well, don't take advantage of your neighbors. Don't take advantage of your family. Don't use the people around you for what you can get out of them, either for your own pleasures or for whatever they have that you want to advantage yourself with. Okay, I want to go back to chapter 1, and I'm going to read a little for you. And I apologize, I did not feel like combing my hair, and I'm giving my eyes a break from contact, so I don't know how much I'll be able to read here, but maybe a little spot of tea will help. First, I'm going to read the scripture. And I was just having a conversation this morning with someone about our country and where we are and what we're dealing with. Habakkuk chapter 1 verses 3 and 4. Why do you make me look at injustice? Why do you tolerate wrong? Now, what we have to understand here, this is Habakkuk who is talking to God. So Habakkuk starts out actually not writing to the people, but he's crying out to God. And he's have you especially recently wondered, God, why? Why on earth is this happening right now? So this is Habakkuk recording his prayer or his conversation with God. Why do you make me look at injustice? Why do you tolerate wrong? Destruction and violence are before me. There is strife and conflict abounds. Therefore, the law is paralyzed and justice never prevails. Now, when they talked about the law in Old Testament times, they were talking about their biblical text, which we know is the Old Testament or the Torah, the books of Moses. Therefore, the law is paralyzed and justice never prevails. The wicked hem in the righteous, so that justice is perverted. Oh my goodness, what does that make you think of? Okay, I had a couple of pages of reflection on that when I was writing this, and I believe I worked on the book of Habakkuk somewhere between 2016 and 2019. These are my words now. Habakkuk was upset at what he saw in the kingdom of Judah. He wrote the book of Habakkuk to share a conversation he had with God, sharing his complaints and frustrations. The people of Judah were so far from what they should be doing that Habakkuk could not understand. He observed that the people with the power and wealth were twisting the law so that they were further advantaged. The real sense of fairness and justice had been hijacked. Habakkuk was surrounded by so much evil that he was really tired of having to see it right up in his face. Worse yet, he was further frustrated because those who had perverted justice were flourishing. Today, we may find ourselves equally as upset when we see people doing wrong and not getting called out for it. The young man in the neighborhood with no job drives an $80,000 car and makes short trips all night long as he is making deliveries. The security camera's battery runs dead because the camera is triggered all night long when there should be little movement. It looks like crime does pay and pays well. We do our taxes and owe another $1,600. I remember that year when I did my taxes and I owe another $1,600. We do our taxes and owe another $1,600 while someone else explains how they work the system so that they have very little reported income. It sometimes seems like there is no one honest except me, and I am worse off because of it. So I'm having my own little Habakkuk moment here. Just like Habakkuk, we want justice. We want the systems to be fair. When people pervert the systems, we think they should not get away with it. When it comes to the wealthy, they tend to also have the power, and the systems that are supposed to ensure justice are unjust because they favor those with power and wealth. When I first started teaching public school, I struggled to make it financially. I had 3 young boys, and the money I earned from teaching was not quite enough. When comparing the value of the work a teacher accomplishes against the professional basketball players who play basketball for huge salaries, it irritated me. There were times when I had to work 3 jobs. I taught school Monday through Friday. I worked for an insurance agency on Monday and Tuesday nights, and I worked at a grocery store on Friday nights and Saturdays, with some Sundays as well. If I was not so busy working, I would have had time to be bitter. A valuable lesson to learn in life is that life and all things pertaining to living is not fair. Some good people get cancer, some bad people never get sick. Contrary to what some of our preachers peddling a prosperity gospel say, God does not make Christians rich. Some may have a lot and some may have too little. Good and bad things happen to good people. Good and bad things happen to bad people. Direct correlations do not exist in reality. So the day where I got on the Habakkuk train to whine and complain to God, I at least came to a conclusion here that is logical. I want to end this little conversation with Habakkuk chapter 3, verse 17. Though the fig tree does not bud, and there are no grapes on the vines, though the olive crop fails, and the fields produce no food, though there are no sheep in the pen and no cattle in the stalls, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. And here are my words for that. At the end of Habakkuk's conversation with God, he learned a lesson from his frustration. Our joy in the Lord is not dependent upon the fairness of life. It is not dependent on what we have or what we do not have. And what those around us have or do not have is not even relevant. When we are only happy when everything is perfect, or at least looking optimistic, then that is not really happiness. We cannot let our joy be based on extrinsic factors. Joy should come from within. Contentment is learned, practiced, and achieved no matter what else is going on. If my pantry has no more bananas, and if I have no more tea bags to make tea, if my potatoes did not grow that year, if I am out of frozen chicken strips and no more hamburger meat, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. Well, I was having a good day when I wrote these passages for Habakkuk. Thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed this and other podcasts, be sure to subscribe and like and share Words to Ponder. Thank you for watching.